In the 1300s, Europe was confronted with one of the greatest catastrophes in its history, the Black Death. This pandemic did not only cause the deaths of millions of people, it fundamentally changed the way humans perceived the world. The disease spread rapidly across the continent, affecting nearly every family in some way. Death was no longer a distant possibility. It became a natural part of everyday life, and this reality began to reveal itself clearly in art. People encountered death daily. Bodies carried through the streets, abandoned homes, interrupted lives. These scenes became ordinary. In such an environment, art could no longer ignore the reality of life. Before the plague, medieval art was largely shaped by religious narratives. Its primary purpose was to glorify God and convey sacred stories. Saints, miracles, heavenly visions, and biblical scenes dominated artistic production. These works often presented an idealized world. Suffering and death existed, but they were limited and framed within a spiritual meaning. After the plague, this visual language began to change. Artists no longer focused solely on the sacred. They turned toward the reality they were facing. The human body appeared more fragile, facial expressions became more realistic, and scenes grew harsher. Art shifted from offering comfort to confronting truth. During this period, death moved to the center of artistic expression. Skeletons, graves, decaying bodies, wilted flowers, and hourglasses began to appear more frequently in paintings. These were not random symbols. Each one reminded viewers of life's transience and the irreversible passage of time. Skeletons represented the inevitable end of the body. Hourglasses showed that time flows at the same pace for everyone. Wilted flowers reflected the impermanence of beauty itself. These images were not meant to terrify people. They were meant to remind them of life's fragility. Art became a form of warning. One of the most powerful and widespread expressions of this idea was the Danse Macabre, or the Dance of Death. In these scenes, skeletons are depicted dancing with kings, priests, merchants, and peasants. People from every social class appear side by side with death. Often arranged as a procession or a dance, these scenes carried a clear message. In the face of death, everyone is equal. Crowns, wealth, knowledge, and power lose all meaning. Death is portrayed as the one force that erases all social divisions. For people of the time, these images were direct and deeply understandable. After the plague, art was no longer limited to portable works. Church walls became an essential part of this visual language. Churches were places where people gathered most frequently, not only to worship, but also to make sense of the world around them. Wall paintings spoke directly to people who could not read or write. They formed a clear and accessible visual language. Without words, these images communicated ideas of death, morality, and impermanence in a way everyone could understand. The overall tone of art grew noticeably darker. Color palettes became heavier. Bright tones gave way to muted and somber shades. Light was used more harshly, and facial expressions gained stronger emotional intensity. Art moved away from idealized scenes and toward the depiction of what could not be avoided. The human body began to be portrayed with its flaws, its aging, and its vulnerability. This realism was not meant to comfort the viewer, but to provoke reflection. This transformation did not end with the Middle Ages. The perspective shaped by the plague influenced later centuries as well. Traces of this shift can be seen in the realism of the Renaissance, the dramatic use of light and shadow in the Baroque period, and even in the darker, questioning language of modern art. Art was no longer only a tool for creating beauty. It became a space where humanity confronted its own mortality. Today, these works may appear harsh and unsettling to us. One reason for this is the distance modern society has created between itself and death. Death is often hidden away in hospitals, reduced to statistics, removed from daily life. For medieval people, death was not something to hide or ignore. It was an unavoidable part of existence. That is why plague-era artworks felt realistic and understandable in their own time. In conclusion, the Black Death did not only reshape society, it permanently altered the direction of art. Art turned away from glorifying beauty and toward revealing truth. These works were not created to inspire fear, but to remind humanity of a reality that could not be forgotten. And perhaps that is why, centuries later, they continue to look back at us,